Welcome to the business series of WisePass. Today we are now at the Antonio de Torres store in Ho Chi Minh City, and we have Antonio de Torres as well.
Hi guys.
Well, thanks for welcoming us to your place, and today we're going to talk about many different things.
Okay.
It will be broken down to three parts. So the first part we'll talk about your personal life, your career, what you've done before. The second is about the business, and the third part is about technology.
Okay.
So maybe we can start with you. Can you share a little bit about yourself and how you came up with Antonio de Torres?
Sure. Well, first of all, I've been living in Vietnam for almost 19 years already. I moved here in 2002, so pretty much I understand the landscape of Vietnam. And Hanoi, Saigon, our business is based in Ho Chi Minh City. My company, we own actually a manufacturing company. So we actually do a lot of our orders are for export and international business. And it wasn't until 2008 that I came up with the concept of, actually it wasn't Antonio de Torres to begin with, it was actually called Massimo Ferrari, was the name of the original brand. And one of the reasons why we chose Massimo Ferrari is that we didn't know if a men's luxury lifestyle brand was going to work in the market. So rather than put my name in front of the badge, I wanted to be clever and see and test it and see if it was going to work. So it did work, and it was actually very highly successful at the time. Fast forward, here we are today, in 2019. The brand was rebranded in early 2018 to Antonio de Torres, and that was a strategy move for us because we are preparing to move the brand overseas and also to expand further in Vietnam as a luxury menswear brand focusing on suits, shoes, shirts, and full lifestyle ready to wear, as well as bespoke, which is our main business, which is actually that's how I made my business, was actually doing more of the bespoke and the customized products. In terms of my background and where I'm coming from, I'm actually from the United States. I actually have a Spanish background. That's my lineage and my family origins. And I use that a little bit to play with the brand. That actually is sort of the ethos, because I have a very deep Hispanic heritage. So I'm very proud of that. And as well as I bring the American sensibility to the equation of this brand. So it's comfort, it's relaxed luxury, but also it has this very European undertone, which is actually what gives it the taste and the element. And I think when people come to the store, they're like, oh yeah, we get it. It has this nice fusion of casual luxury, but also at the same time, it's very nice to have some sensibility. It doesn't have to be staunch, it doesn't have to be straightforward. It can be comfortable luxe. And I think that European and that American combination really works. The Vietnamese side of it is actually interesting because we combine some of the elements of the local elements here, such as the culture. We have some linings that we use that are Vietnamese inspired. The shoes really don't have a Vietnamese connotation. They're pretty much very French inspired, in fact, from French lasts. And that's pretty much where we're directing the brand in terms of footwear. However, in the ready-to-wear collections and in what we're doing, there's a lot of my personal DNA is there, but also mixing the cultures of East meets West, and essentially that's what Antonio de Torres is.
I was wondering about one thing, you came to Vietnam 19 years ago. So what made you want to come to Vietnam, especially almost 20 years ago? It was a quite different country, so...
Yes, it's cowboys and Indians, basically. Yeah, I mean, Vietnam was an accident. I'll be very frank, very honest and candid. I didn't anticipate coming here. Actually, the company that I used to work for in the United States was actually already outsourcing products to Vietnam. I, at the time, was the national sales director for that particular company. So I was doing the front end, which was pretty much selling the products to big department stores in the fashion industry, and getting all the accounts and then sending it to Vietnam to do production, but I didn't handle the production part. So lo and behold, I got a huge order from a very famous account in New York City called Barney's New York. They gave me the biggest order of my life, essentially, and we outsourced everything to Vietnam. Now, we had problems. We didn't hear back from the factories. We weren't getting samples on time. So it basically was like, I need to come to Vietnam to check if this is going to be real or we're going to have a problem. So I got on a plane by myself, at my own pocket, and I said, I need to see my production. Where is it? And that's how I ended up in Vietnam. So basically, when I got to the factory, it was my worst nightmare. And
is Bonnie still waiting your order, or
no, they're not waiting my order. We've delivered that long ago.
Oh, pretty sure of this.
No, it's pretty much been delivered.
Okay.
But it was interesting because I got here and I had heard so many negative things about Vietnam through a lot of the Vietnamese American community, and I just wanted to go anyways because I just thought that I need to see it for myself. I'll make my own decision of what Vietnam really is. So when I got here, I was very surprised. I was shocked, as a matter of fact, as to how welcoming it was and how beautiful the country was. And then I started to fix my problem, because that's basically why I came. And as I was here, I realized that I couldn't just go and leave for a week or 2 weeks. I had to stay here for like a period of 2 months. And in that 2 months, I sort of made my decision that either I'm gonna give up and not do this job with this company any longer and come here anyways to start my own business, or I'm just gonna go back to the States and just call it a day and find something else to do. So I decided to obviously start my own flat.
So what triggered that decision to stay in Vietnam? Like, you arrived, you just stay for a couple of months, and then I'm gonna live here for the rest of my life, or?
It was a couple of things. Actually, I had met somebody that is still with me today. So that was one of the reasons why I decided to come back. Actually, that was a big factor, is a significant other. The second reason why I decided to come back was that actually the people who helped me actually really saved my business, actually saved the company's business that I was working with, and actually allowed me to launch my own business here. So I thought, just because of the help that they gave me and the people that I met along the way in 2 months in this industry, I thought that this was an incredible place to start. Now, China was tapped out. Everybody was going to China. Everybody was in China doing production and fashion, but not really a lot of American companies were coming here to do production. So I thought, well, China's tapped out. Thailand, not really my thing. So I decided to put my station here, and that was where it all began.
So now we can maybe switch to the business part.
Okay.
Antonio de Torres, you have one store here, we have one store in Hanoi. And what's going to be the next thing for this brand in 2019?
Okay, well, for Antonio de Torres, the brand is going to be maintaining its ethos and its DNA in bespoke menswear. And bespoke, frankly speaking, is very difficult to scale. What you can do is you can get more clients and you can service those clients in both cities or regionally in Vietnam, so Hanoi, Saigon, Da Nang. Those would be 3 prime markets that we were going to develop, and we're going to continue to develop and get more customers. With ready-to-wear, in terms of the new brand I just told you about, Puro Santo, that will be more of a scale business, which we're looking at a lot of licensing options, lots of franchising opportunities here as well as overseas. So that's pretty much 2019 how our business is going to be divided and expanded. But for ADT primarily, it's always going to be bespoke, made to measure, one-on-one client relationships and building those relationships.
Wondering, for luxury fashion, seeing those pair of shoes, they're worth $600 probably.
Correct.
So how do you get those guys, those customers? It's
good question. Marketing activities in Vietnam, as probably anybody knows who's a retailer, is one of the most difficult thing. Is you can put a lot of attention to marketing, Facebook boosts, Instagram posts, and that's one method of getting people through the door, but it doesn't always work. And you can always wait and boost and give as much information and put as much incentive, but at the end of the day, it's quite rich, the product. So you're talking to a client who has to understand what kind of product they're buying. It's not just a shoe, no, it's actually a handmade shoe. And it's not just a handmade shoe, it actually has French calf. It's this, that, the other. So all the details of what we do in art and make the shoes, how can we put that in a Facebook post? It'll be this long, and then somebody sees one picture and goes, okay, great, that's nice. But They didn't experience it. They didn't see it. So with luxury, and like anything else in luxury, it has to be tangible. You have to come into the store, you have to see it, feel it, smell the leather, try it on. It's involving all the senses. Looking at a page and looking at an image, sometimes, it doesn't sell everything. So where we are with the marketing and why we've talked to you and to WisePass is actually we want to open ourselves up to a demographic that maybe middle class income or is an aspiring clientele looking to have some of these pieces, and then create and re-engineer something for WisePass and let them experience what ADT really is about. And then obviously that aspirational dollar will then come to suits later on, shirts and everything else that we do in our business. So actually through WisePass, it's actually been very effective for us because we've been getting sales and we've been introducing people to our brand without really having to do the traditional marketing system, which has really helped us a lot.
So I got a follow-up question about the shoes, because
Sure.
we've got two of them today here, and because I remember like the way you design the shoes, you produce the shoes, the style, the format here. Actually, they have like multiple components, right?
Yes.
So like I remember one day when I was in Hanoi with you, like you described like how do you actually call this style? Like you get the Italian style and then the French style, depending on how straight or like this.
Correct. So our signature heel essentially is basically, it's very similar to a Cuban heel. Okay, the Cuban heel almost was like a dance shoe, and actually it has an inverted or sort of like a bias cut right here inside the inner shank of the heel. So that's become our signature because obviously it just has a DNA to us. Firstly, I don't like straight lines. I sort of like curves, I like angles, I like round. So to have something that's traditional and to make a signature part of your shoe, we have to think about how does that relate to our business and what's going to be our trademark or what's going to be our key signatures. That is definitely one of our signatures. So when people look at our shoes and they look at the heel, they're going to go, that's definitely an ADT shoe, because they can see some of these little details, the heel shape. Now, we also do what we call a pitched heel, which a pitch is basically hand-shaped, hand-finished, and it basically follows the curved line of the heel. So basically you can see the heel doesn't just go straight down, it actually follows the curve of the shoe, which is not necessarily easily to be done with a machine or just a regular mold. It actually has to be shaped down with a sanding machine to actually curve that and carve that. And the artisan who does this actually has to watch the balance of the heel to make sure it's perfectly proportionate. So this typically is only found on bespoke shoes, okay? Or completely handmade shoes. So yes, this product is completely handmade, but we're bringing elements of bespoke because we're not making bespoke. We're making made to measure, made to order shoes, which the last store already existed. But the craft and the way we assemble the product is almost identical to a bespoke pair of shoes, which could cost you anywhere from $2,000, $3,000 to $4,000 US.
There was like another thing that made me want to buy one of them actually.
Yeah.
It's actually this part.
Yes, the top.
Like the top part right now here.
Sure.
Then when I saw that and then like all the different things here,
Brass.
this is like when I realized like the craft and then all the details you would have to put in.
Thank you. Well, the outsole is, again, you're going to step on it, you're going to walk in it, so some of the beauty is going to fall off, over time and wear off because it's just the nature of it. When you buy it, essentially what we have here is the shoe is called, the outsole, this one is a fiddleback waist. So fiddleback, like a violin fiddle, basically it has the same waist here, which this is all crafted with an artisan who actually shaves all of this by hand. Why do we do it? Is there a purpose or a function? Not necessarily. It's basically part of a shoe decoration. It's a shoe craft that's found on very, very high-end luxury shoes, which is called a fiddleback or a violin waist. ADT, we took it to the next step. We did the brass nails here. The brass nails are just a nice, traditionally are done with wood pegs, but actually I wanted to just do something that actually mimicked some of the stitching on my bespoke jackets in the lining. So basically there's a brand synergy between the linings of my stitch work and the bottom of the shoe. So that's sort of a brand DNA that's been carried onto the shoe. It's not just for decoration. Now the toe iron at the top, it's actually 100% brass. A lot of these are made by steel or by aluminum to make the cost cheaper. We use actually 100% brass, so it's about 5 times more expensive than a steel plate. Also with the brass nails that are nailed right to the heel. We use brass because it's incredibly durable. It doesn't rust. It also looks really, really beautiful on the shoe. And these plates are all custom made for me, and I actually have my name actually lasered on the toe plate itself. So it's something that's just very unique to our brand. We're spending money on the details of what we're doing, and then the heel as well has the nails all hand nailed all the way around the rim. And what that does is that just when the leather starts wearing, the nails actually help to resist very fast wear because the brass nails are there to prevent that from happening quickly. So this is, all intents and purposes, this is completely a bespoke outsole on a handmade shoe. So we're giving that to a lot of customers of bespoke quality at a very value for money price, and that's why our brand is doing so well in the footwear, because people see the value in what we're doing here.
Great. It's like to follow on, and maybe we're gonna move to technology right after,
Sure.
because we can talk for hours on that. So what's the most complex shoes you've ever designed or produced? You can see there are 2 different pair of shoes, but what's the most
Actually, it's much like, I'll use this analogy if you understand architecture. Okay, so simplicity is sometimes looks easy, but it's actually the most difficult thing to make. And in shoes, it's pretty similar. Meaning that the most difficult pair of shoes that I've ever made has actually been for a bespoke customer who commissioned a bespoke pair of shoes. And all it was essentially a whole cut shoe, meaning there's basically no seams on the shoe, and it's just basically an open lace, like a loafer, but with no laces, with just an elastic strap on the inside. No seams, no nothing, but in crocodile. But the simplicity itself looks easy, but how to cut the crocodile so all the scales perfectly match on both left and right pair, and then also to be able to balance the shoe, that every seam, there's no seams on the shoe, so you have to understand that you're just lasting it, and then you're looking at every part of the shoe and the element in the back, in the toe, in the quarter, in the shank, to make sure everything is perfectly balanced. It's actually very hard. Okay, these type of shoes, yeah, okay, it's difficult, it's complex, they have 2 buckles, they have 1 buckle, but these are patterns, and they're basically something that if there is a small minor defect here and there, it can be hidden. When it's seamless, or when it's completely a one piece of leather with no seam on the shoe, there's nothing to hide. Everything is absolutely exposed, so it has to be 100% perfection. So these shoes are quite simple. The solid hole cuts are the most difficult, especially in the exotic skins. Once the hole goes in the leather, you're done. There is no taking back the thread and restitching it. You have to completely replace the whole entire leather up. So that's sort of what complexity is in the technology. In terms of the outsole, every outsole is handmade at the time of the shoe. So basically, upper gets assembled with hand lasting. What is hand lasting? Technology is basically shoemaking. You can take a machine, put a last inside, and the machine will last the shoe over and then put the outsole together on the shoe. That's the most classic way to produce shoes. What we do is quite different. We have a last. What we do is hand lasting, meaning that they actually nail the leather to the last, okay? Then it sits on the form for about 7 to 8 days to a week. Okay, it has to sit on the last. And then while it's sitting on the last, we actually take a special hammer, and they actually hammer all the edges and corners of the leather to make that really nice, pronounced, bespoke shape on all the edges, on all the curves. Now, a machine can't replicate that. A machine will last it. You'll get the general shape of the shoe, but you won't get the really nice, finite edges and details of the last. You understand? So it has to be hand lasted, reviewed, sit, ironed with a special leather iron, and it sits again. Then it's rehammered, relasted, and then it sits. And then once it's done and we inspect it, we say, yeah, look at that shape. The shape is great. We start to finish the outsole. Now there's 2 ways to attach an outsole. One is hand last, hand weld, which means that people sit there and they actually hand last and hand weld the bottom of the outsole to the upper. It's the most expensive, and it is actually the traditional way of shoemaking. And the other way is Goodyear welt. Goodyear welt is a special machine that actually will do a replication stitch of a hand stitch, but it's attached by machine. It's actually the most commercial way that good shoes, well-made shoes are made in Europe. And price-wise, you're looking at a couple $100 more, or depending on the brand, it could be even $500 to $1,000 more for a hand-welted, hand-lasted shoe. Because the artisanship to do that takes time. And in the shoe world, artisans and craft like this in Europe and in Japan and the US is dying. So not many people are still continuing to do hand-last, hand-welted shoes. And in Vietnam, there is a great footwear industry here that's sort of starting to keep that craft alive. So that's exactly what ADT is doing, is we're keeping that old world technology, which is maybe sort of ancient technology, alive. But people, when you tell them that it's handmade and you show them the details of how it's hand-lasted, hand-stitched, hand-welted, it sort of brings an energy to the conversation, and then they feel very proud to wear it, because they're like, look, no, these are handmade shoes. These are not machine-made commercial products, which is very different. And we do make machine-made commercial products. It all depends on price points. So, but for our ADT line, everything is hand-last, hand-weld, and that's exactly what we're selling.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, talking about technology then, since you're talking about that, like how much because like machinery, like all those kind of things, like to build this, like how much does it require just to build these pairs? Like
for the machinery to make that, okay, so well, basically you've got the outsoles. Basically that's actually a unit plate. So basically the machinery here is one.
So it's one.
Then you have the cutting tools to actually cut out the mold, the brass. Okay, so that's two. Then you have a heel machine that actually cups, and actually we order them in blocks, so we have to actually sand them down. So that's another machine, 3. You have the lasting, 4. You have actually the stitching machines, the single needle machines, 5. And then if you have, so we have lining, corking machine, that's 6. There's a total of about, I would say, 8 different types of machines that we need to assemble one pair of shoes. And if it's being hand made completely, we deduct about 4 of those machines away. So then it's generally done by hand. But then some of the heel trimming and some of the shaving of the edges of the welt, we can do that by hand to speed the process along. We don't necessarily need to sand every single thing down by hand. For the price that we're offering, we can't do that. So if it's 100% bespoke and it's a $2,000 or $3,000 shoe, sure, I'll spend the time to sand each pair of shoes, no problem. But little details like what we're offering, $500, $600, $800, even in that range, yeah, it's primarily about an 80% finished with handmade details on the shoes, for sure.
Cool. Technology, let's keep going on that.
Sure.
So, we live in a world where maybe like in the year 2000, was a different world. I guess when there was smartphones, there was internet, but maybe the baby internet at that time. Like, okay, let's talk about the internet. It's like, how does it change your industry, or if it did, right? Did it change anything?
Okay, for shoes, I think shoes, I mean, they've been around for several thousands of years. So it's like almost like talking about the wheel. Like, okay, the wheel's round, but how many wheels can we possibly reinvent? So it's the same thing with shoes. So in our business, yes, in 2000, okay, what was available online wasn't much, and what was known to the world wasn't really. It was just what you shopped before, or what your friends have bought, or how much wealth you had. So you've traveled the world to see what's available. Nowadays, in 2019, we can just click online, and we can actually see everything that's available in the world in front of our face in a few seconds. But what you really can't see, and this goes back to my initial discussion, what we were talking about before, is you can't experience the luxury. You can't really understand it until you buy, or until you go and you experience it for yourself, especially in shoes, because fit is so important. If the fit is not right on the shoe, it's never gonna work. It doesn't all of a sudden become comfortable. Even though lousy shoe salesman will tell you that, oh, don't worry, it'll get comfortable over time. If it doesn't fit in the store today, it will never fit, because that's just the nature of a shoe. It isn't going to mold automatically to your foot. You understand? What it will do is it will get softer and it will conform. So always, as a rule of thumb, have to know the shoes fit today perfectly. If it's tight, if it's this, it's that, you gotta talk and you gotta tell the guy, hey, it doesn't fit right, I need another size or I need a wider width. So going back to technology, is that how do you do that online? Who's the guy who tells you that online? It just doesn't exist. And I think in luxury, you really need to appreciate and enjoy the experience, because this is the journey. The journey is not necessarily tech, although tech is part of the advertisement and part of the hype, but the experience is still very, very, very archaic in terms of how you appreciate these types of products. Because honestly, you can buy Gucci, Longvong, you can buy a Balenciaga shoe, you can buy all of that online. Okay, but those are mainstream brands. Those aren't luxury handmade goods. Okay, that's a confusion from a lot of people, thinking high price, good name value, but yeah, they're machine made. They're machine made and they're made with really bad leather. So, okay, nice name, nice design, but you're sort of missing the point. The point of this is that there is no name badge branding. Why? Because we don't need to. This is for somebody who understands what is quality, what's the best leather, what's the best fit, what's the best manufacturer. That's luxury. Luxury is unannounced. You understand? It's for people who are in the know, and they buy. And that's something that online really needs to, okay. They're targeting people to aspire to spend higher dollars, but they're not targeting people to be educated on what they're buying. That's what we're doing, is we're educating people on the kind of leather, the kind of fit, the kind of comparison pricing. Like, what do you get for us? How much would it cost in Paris, for example, to buy this in Paris from a Parisian brand, or from an Italian brand, or from a Japanese maker? We have that data, we have that information. And then let the customer explore. I'm happy to tell my client, just go there, check it for yourself. And then when they come back, they're like, oh, you were right. Those shoes in Europe cost 2,000 euros. I said, I told you. Well, this is what the business is. So again, I think for us, and the way I see the business going for luxury, it has to be more education based, which a lot of people don't want to talk about, because nowadays people don't want to read. So it's either video, which is great, or it's going to have to be education and a lot of photography. And it's still great to look at photos, and it's still great to make great stories, but as you know, how many people actually read through an entire blog and read through from top to bottom to get inspired or to get educated about a product, about anything, about world events? It could be anything that we're talking about. And I find that in our business that communication has become so pictorial driven, and so it's pictures and ads and advertisements and all this, but you're missing the point. The point is, go in, learn, try and experience what the differences are, and that's what you're paying for.
Hopefully we've done that today. But I'd like to end today with a last question.
Sure.
So, luxury fashion, but not fashion, luxury fashion. What made you fall in love with that?
Okay,
Why?
Great question. Luxury fashion is basically, it's all about the individual. And I find that, the difference between high fashion or mainstream fashion is that the brands make for the mass. We do that as well for ready to wear in our collection. That's for the immediate gratification. Oh, I need something tonight, bam, I go out and buy it, I wear it. But for the bespoke, this is something that becomes a whole nother level, because the client comes in with an idea, and they come in with a wallet, and they have the money to understand that they want something unique, and totally individualized and totally special. Nobody has it. That means their friends don't have it, their mother, their father, whoever, they don't have that. Why they want that? It could be ego. They want it to impress other people. Or it just because they're connoisseurs. They just love, and they have so many of them that they just want more. And every time I make a new pair of shoes or a new suit for a guy who's just ordering custom or bespoke, it's a new project, it's a new adventure, it's a new journey, because he's in a different place in his life than he was 6 months ago or 2 years ago. And now it's sort of this evolution of seeing how he's creating his lifestyle. And I'm a part of that journey. I'm helping him create his vision. That's exciting. To me, that's the reward, is that, wow, we started at this. We started with a loafer in leather, and today he's buying only crocodile shoes, for example. I mean, he has just graduated because he learned through the educational journey of experiencing all of this that he has the funds. That's not a question. It's a question of, now, where do I take my lifestyle? Where is my journey going? And if I can follow with him until he wants to have, until he dies, then that's great. I've got a lifetime customer. But this is really, in essence, it's a joy to work with these kind of people, and that's what turns me on, is the bespoke part. It's basically everybody just comes to me with an idea. Antonio, I want to do this. I have this idea. Can you do that? Okay, show it to me. Let's see what we can create. So that's it.
I guess I'm gonna have to order some crocodile shoes
Yes,
in the future.
you must.
So, yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed the business series episode number 5, and we'll see you next week. See you.
Ciao. Bye.